One thing I really like about this body of work is that the image does repeat, but the composition changes based on the wood grain. These pieces are self-portraits, but they're not limited to being portraits of only me. I like to have the viewer put themselves in the place of the face that's in the abstract composition and to review your own self-worth. Is your self-worth at its ultimate high? Is your self-worth needing improvement? For most of us, I think that answers definitely we could improve upon our self-worth. My name is Paula Izydorek. Welcome to my author's talk. My journey as an artist began in Los Angeles, California, where I attended Santa Monica Community College and really studied painting, figure drawing, color theory. I later transferred to the San Francisco Art Institute, where I began exploring creativity without structure and allowing process to override rules. Kind of the theory, once you learn the rules, you can break them. Superstition Review, issue number 21, featured 5 of my paintings from my Self-Worth series, and I'm here today to talk about them. An interesting fact about these paintings is that I initially was looking at our U.S. currency for inspiration. I was inspired by the actual line work, the cross hatching that you see on the faces. I thought to myself, wow, I really like that as worth. My process begins with selecting wood grain. I choose birch panel based on its particular grain, and I collaborate with the grain itself and use it as a compositional element. Each of the outlined portraits are composed uniquely to the panel's actual wood grain. Again and again, I will mention that I use wood grain as a compositional element, and these 5 pieces are a strong example of where you have one form laying in 5 different positions, and actually one panel has 2 of the figurative graphic outline. I start the work in the moment with very little preconceived idea of outcome. The majority of the time that I am working on a panel, specifically these ones, it's kind of unfolding as each moment goes by. There is some predetermination of color as well as some predetermination of composition, but the general process happens in the moment of creation. That keeps the work spontaneous as well as diverse. There are primarily 3 components to each individual panel. One, you have the graphic outline of the figure. Then you have the intertwining background with the wood grain, as well as what I like to refer to as the floral element, which is consistently pink throughout all 5 panels. I'm a huge fan of pattern and repetition, and that is why wood grain is such a strong attraction for me in this particular body of work. I utilize the pattern of the wood grain, and then I create patterns on top of the wood grain in what I consider almost pattern play. Pattern unfolds as the painting comes into completion. My color choices and my palette are selected in the moment. Some of it is predetermined based on maybe I have a theme in mind. For example, in Self-Worth 215.1, I was actually referencing the U.S. currency. So therefore, I'm mimicking the color of most of our U.S. currency, which is like a darker green. I don't necessarily have a particular color that is my favorite. I kind of gravitate to color based on the content of the painting, as well as what I maybe have most recently been utilizing in my studio. There are moments of feeling inspired by waterfalls. You will see I use a lot of blue in my panels, as well as a lot of pink tones. There's a lightness and innocence to the palette, but primarily it is chosen as I create the work. I have been using liquid acrylic inks, which stain the wood grain and mix really easily on the spot. It's not a, I don't have a palette pre-laid out. I just have like an array of colors next to me that I can choose from while I'm doing the work. The acrylic inks range from translucent to opaque to iridescent. I've always been attracted to the iridescent because I think it reflects how life is around us. Light is constantly playing on surfaces, and iridescent paint allows that to happen in my paintings. In general, my use of color corresponds with what's happening in my immediate environment or what has just come to pass. Like maybe I've been obsessively focused on sunsets or really enjoying the blue skies. Art serves as a visual platform for my stories to be expressed, whether the stories be a stream of consciousness or autobiographical related. The creative process fulfills my need to share my light, my voice, and to transfer my energy to the viewer. I ideally would like the viewer to identify with the energy around the subject rather than get lost in the subject as a portrait. I don't necessarily want my story to be told to the viewer. I want my viewer to identify with the story. I ideally want the viewer to connect with the image based on their own personal experience. And in this particular series, evaluate your self-worth. Where are you at on the barometer of where you want to be in regards to your self-worth? This was a lot of fun for me, and I appreciate you taking the time today to learn more about what I do as an artist. And I'm really grateful that Superstition Review invited me to do an author's talk. If you would like to contact me with further questions or find me on social media, the best way to reach out to me is through my website, paulaizydorek.com. I am on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And one last shout out to Superstition Review for featuring 5 of my paintings in issue 21. Thank you. Take care.